This is Savvy Code with our monthly founder spotlight. This edition, we're happy to invite the founding team for Ryvid, an electric motorcycle company in California. They built a team of four founders. Three founders are Vietnamese Americans, and they're sitting here with us, joining us from California, Southern California. Welcome, guys.
Hello, hello. Hello. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you. I mean, one of the things that I get asked a lot is how to build a team. And I don't know if you guys follow the tech scene a lot, but many of the venture building companies or venture building firms like Antler, they actually have a whole session on how to build a team and how to find a co-partner or co-founder to help put a team together. And more recently, Y Combinator, they actually require that their investment portfolios have at least two founders on the team before they make an investment. So, putting a team together is quite an important task at the beginning. I know sometimes it kind of happenstance, circumstances, friends, and people you work with and are comfortable with, but there's also a filtering process in terms of like personality and also experience and fit. So, the main purpose of this session is really to kind of learn from you guys, how you guys put your team together, what happened, how did this come about, the vision. So I'll throw it out there to any of you guys to kind of get us started. Give us the Ryvid story.
Sure. I think it was love at first sight of EV. No, really, but I think it was a unique timing, just at the stage of our lives, personally and professionally. I think we all met each other in our adult years, and with that comes different relationships, right, and different values. So for us, where we were able to really kind of blend the two was very unique in that we all come with different skill sets. We all share, we value relationships very intimately in a very specific way, and that's kind of how we really were able to really establish ourselves and really try to take on a project together in a really meaningful way, right? And so we're lucky to just meet, whether it's by fate or coincidence, but it's a blend of a little bit of everything all coming into place, and that kind of leads into, even how the company is at today.
Yeah, maybe you guys can, maybe Don, maybe you can tell us about the product. Is that
Yeah,
product's probably how you guys got together?
Yeah, I can elaborate a little more on how we arrived at Ryvid. I met, like Vincent, I met these guys actually through my wife, and when I met them, I was already pretty established in my career. I knew what I wanted to do pretty early on in terms of design engineering. I met Vin first, which also shared some aerospace experience in terms of engineering. He's also an ME, so we got along right away, and kind of we were able to talk the technical things that we normally discuss as engineers. When I met Vincent, he brought a very different set of skills, right? He's a people person. He's a relationship guy. But also he had the same aerospace experience. how that happened, but he came from supply chain, and his background is very, very unique in that he's like a connector, right? He's able to kind of talk to different people, see what we're missing, and bring that side of the business. And so when we got to talking, it wasn't anything specific to EV. It was actually, what can we do together to kind of further our career. That was the first stab at it. If we were to do a startup together, what would it be? And so we started talking about a lot of different things, right? It went from fish farming to food truck, and then we wanted to do our own consultancy. Industry in Vietnam has always been, and where we think it's going. Like my background was design, vehicle design, automotive design, and then I started doing a lot of electric vehicles in my design consultancy. And so we kind of spoke about transportation as a whole, and how in Vietnam it's still very the way it was. Everyone else is making electric cars, electric motorcycles, and electric mopeds. But Vietnam, when we went back there, this was back in 2016, it was still very gasoline dependent, right? When you walk outside and when you talk about electric vehicles, it was very much a novelty. And so we saw a bit of a possibility or potential that aligned with what we wanted to do in the United States as well. And that's kind of why, being Vietnamese Americans, I think we have a specific tie to where we came from that lends us a unique outlook into the market and why light electric vehicle would matter in the future. That's how we actually ended up deciding to do a light EV company as opposed to a food truck or a fish farm, right? But I think with our skill sets, any of those businesses would have worked out in a very similar path, right? Because we share a need to want to innovate any space that we're working on, and it just happens that the furthest along we were was in the EV space.
So you guys, all three of you guys went to Vietnam together?
They went together. That's where the fish farm came from.
Yeah.
I came into that late.
Yeah.
But I also went back there in 2016 because a lot of my family is still in Vietnam, right? Only my immediate family migrated to America in '93, so I still have a lot of ties back there and go back there pretty often, so I can kind of see how people get around and stuff.
Yeah, so I would like to add on my personal experience. So like Don was saying, Vincent and I, when we met, I always thought about doing something in Vietnam. I grew up in Vietnam, born and raised in Vietnam, grew up there in Saigon. My family is still over there. So when I was in Vietnam, where I thought about what can I do to do a business in Vietnam, and Vincent also have a similar entrepreneurship like me. So we thought about doing fish farming in Nha Trang, actually. And then when I met Dong, thank goodness we didn't do that. Well, when I met Dong, we talked about other ideas, and knowing Dong's just a great visionary in his design, his scooters, his two-wheel design, things like that. Back in 2017, 2018, we thought this is really the common denominator that we can do something that significantly change, not just so that we don't, but change the way Vietnamese people operate or work in Vietnam, the way they handle pollution, and we do something that positive impact. And actually, we do have, like Dom said, each of us has a skill set that would contribute to this mission, this goal. So I said it's just perfect timing. And in Vietnamese, there's a saying, sorry, I'm saying one word in Vietnamese, "Thiên thời địa lợi nhân hòa." I think that's really critical, because without those three aspects all come together with, with the fourth pillar, Eric, with meet Matt, that would not all come together. So that's a perfect time and everything comes together. So yeah.
To kind of round it out, because we could talk about this, our origin story all day, just because it's really something that's exciting to us. But it's we're able to leverage what we're, experienced with professionally, but then also what we're passionate for, like our hobbies. And it's just a really unique opportunity for us to do something fun and exciting, right? Like being able to build motorcycles and UTVs, ATVs, and things like that, where not only like for them especially, they can tinker and innovate, and I get to go ride and play on them, right? So I get to reap the benefits of all that hard work. But it's a very, being passionate about what you do, really got us to where we're at. From we're still a young company, right? We were founded in 2021, and we went from ideation stage to getting products into customers' hands within 2 years, something that's never been done, and without having that passion for what we do, we would not be in the situation or the stage where we're at as a company.
Yeah, so it sounds like that saying that Vin just shared in Vietnamese, it's very appropriate for your situation, because three guys coming together, you guys immediately kind of like kicked it off. I mean, you guys liked each other. So then you had this common Vietnam background, and so you want to do something with Vietnam. And so you have the relationship, and then you have the Vietnam connection, and then now you're just brainstorming about the appropriate vehicle, pun pun intended, I guess, the appropriate vehicle to bring those two intersections together to come out with a product, which was, it happens to be an electric motorcycle or something sporty, right? So it is actually a matter of timing. Sometimes you do meet people by chance and then things happen. So you guys didn't come because of a product. You came together because of your background and your just, personality fit with each other. So so was there at any point where you had doubts about, yourself as a team?
100%.
Maybe you're missing something, or maybe there's a conflict that you couldn't get over. Is any like, is anything you want to share in terms of bad moments amongst the team founder?
I mean, I'll share. I think we all had doubts very quickly initially, right? Because the doubt is not that we can do the work that's needed. I have no doubt that we can get the work done. The doubt, like you said before, is finding the right team that fills all the different areas that's going to be required to build a company, right? Because a company doesn't you don't make a company because you're best friends and you can work together all, well. I think it comes from having the right experiences. And one of the things we identified pretty early on is the government side of the business, and how do we leverage that to go after non-dilutive funding, right? Go after, because sometimes the company spends all the time to go out and try to find funding, and then it takes longer, right? You take a lot longer to get to market. So we identify that fairly quickly, and that's how the fourth founder, Eric, who's not here today, but that's actually how we identified him as not only our initial investor, but he brought in experiences that none of us had. He was able to, he has the government connection in the United States to go out and leverage some of the non-dilutive funding, and also some of the government initiative that's happening. Because we knew with electric vehicles being at the forefront of what's happening globally, having that support is going to go a long way, especially being in California. So that's one of the first things I think we identified as a group.
Yeah, I know. So each of you guys have a kind of like a core area of expertise that you contribute to making the product. So we really haven't had a chance to talk about the product. Maybe you guys can tell us more about the product. That will probably crystallize your contribution as to where the company is now. So it's electric motorcycle, but that's really simplistic terms, right? So there's what's behind Ryvid.
Yeah, so we a little background noises. So we actually don't really consider ourselves just an electric motorcycle company. I think that's obviously the first product that we launched. It's a commuter electric motorcycle with a very specific mission, right? It's to fill in the space between the e-bicycles and the full-size motorcycles. We're not out there really trying to compete with the high-end, high-performance motorcycle market. I think that's a limited market. Where we want to compete in is all of the new generations of kids that grew up with electric bicycles, right? And why are they so into those vehicles is because it's a natural thing for them to go out and do. Instead of pedaling, they can now just press and go. And what this allows them to have is really ultimately freedom, right? Because it's a way to go pretty far, pretty good distances on a bicycle. This is a new thing that really hasn't happened before. There hasn't been a generation that grew up and was able to grasp riding what's basically a motorcycle so easily until electric came along. And so we saw that as an opportunity for a first launch product, because an electric motorcycle is much simpler than doing, let's say, an electric UTV or an electric car, right? A small car. So identifying that we wanted to go two wheels was twofold. One is the big market potential in the medium space, the niche that's not filled by really any companies yet here in the United States, but also looking long term to fill the massive potential in Asia, right? In Southeast Asia, in India, China, Vietnam, Thailand. Our motorcycle is fairly limited in range. You get up to 75 miles of range, covers 80% of the people who actually go anywhere every day, right? I think the average trip that people take is about 40 miles a day. So if you have a trip that's less than that, our vehicle's perfect for that. It costs about $1 to charge, and you can plug in anywhere, any standard wall outlet. You can plug it in at public charging stations. So the infrastructure isn't really an issue. The cost of the vehicle was really important to us to keep very low, right? So our bike costs $89.95. It's one of the lowest cost electric motorcycles in the market. We want that to be lower. That's always going to be our mission, is to get the cost even lower. But that's where we're starting within the market. And accessibility is a big deal for us. So we added adjustable seat height, so you can go from short people to tall people. Easily removable batteries. You can actually roll the battery inside if you didn't have parking outside or needed to do a quick swap. And the bike overall is very easy to ride. It's just twist and go like your average scooter. So that's really the launch product that we started with. But then we'll talk more about the platform and how this is not just a one product company.
Yeah, so for us, modular design is one of the key things that we always focus on from the very conceptual of the product. So our product, the Anthem, is the platform. From that, we can just change in any sub-assembly component, from the batteries to the motor suspensions, so that from that we can have a different models for our Anthem platform. Could be a low performance, could be something that would be smaller in form factor, so easy for even people to hop on and ride quickly. And we have that from different price points, so that it's more approachable for different target audience that we might have, right? Out like now I'm saying that $89.95 is our flagship Anthem platform. We have 2 more products that we're about to launch in the very coming months right now. And with the idea of a modular design and battery is because, as you know, EV battery is a very new, especially in motorcycle. And by having the removable battery, we can also have different vendors who can provide maybe a year from now have better technology for battery, have the same form factor, but get more powerful performance, or can get a lower price point battery that we can give it to the customer past the setting for them as well. So all this is the idea when we design this modular design platform. And to add on, the last thing about that is, because we mentioned early on, we make it a light mobility vehicle. So motorcycle is just our first product, but all our design could be transformed and scale to be potentially become a 3 or 4 wheels platform just based on that alone. So
yeah, one of our main focus along with the vehicle side is what we call a microgrid. It's something that we don't talk as much about, but it's something that's planned into our roadmap. Is the battery itself is a high capacity power source, right? So because it's removable and you can use it on the motorcycle, you can use it off the motorcycle, you can use it on other products that we're designing. It becomes its own product, right? So we're not only designing the vehicle, which is kind of its own thing, we're designing the power source, which microgrid is not a new idea. I think a lot of people are going after that now, where the places like Vietnam where there's continuous blackouts, having these basically big giant batteries on every vehicle is actually very helpful. So, the product we have is essentially turning the battery into an inverted power source that can run 110, can run regular lights and other 110 volt equipment. This is an aspect of our company that we don't talk a lot about publicly, but it's something that we're really focused on to make sure the battery that we use is a common battery across multiple different products, and will become its own product.
Is that something unique to the electric motorcycle industry? I mean, do your competitors have something similar, or is it just you guys?
I think there are, I think when you have a removable battery, this is kind of the funnel that everyone will end up going down. I think we're one of a few that is thinking about it like this. And the unique thing about our battery is that because it has wheels, it has a little handle they can push around. It makes it a little bit easier to transport because these batteries are pretty heavy. I mean, to get 4.3 kilowatt hours of battery, that's almost an 80-pound battery, right? So I think we're unique in that way, that where our battery is really truly its own separate product. It's not something that you put in the bike. You can roll this thing around like a portable generator. But in terms of using battery as a power source, that's, you know, there's a lot of companies besides just motorcycle companies that are doing that right now as a power generator.
Yeah.
I think we're combining the two, and the main thing I think is for future products to have the same battery. That's really important because, you know, our ability to put the bikes together in a very specific way. We don't have your traditional assembly line. Right? The way we do assembly for our bike, which is a big part of what Ryvid stands for, is the ability to be very modular and very efficient in how we stand up manufacturing. A good example, for instance, we moved into our new space and it took us about 3 weeks to get up and running. Like typically, if you move into an empty building, you got a long ways to go before you can start assembling anything. We lay out our assembly stations in sub-assemblies so that there are unique sub-assemblies to the bike that we broke down from the design phase. I think there's 5 altogether, and those sub-assemblies can be assembled on their own without anyone having to pay attention to the other guys, right? It's not a in series process. It's an in parallel development, right? So the guy putting together the frame sub-assembly can continue to do that independent of everyone else. Like so he can just continue to do that, and we have a bunch of frame sub-assemblies sitting there. And then they all go to one final area where the bike comes together. Right? This really takes away the serial lineup that typically is in a traditional assembly line, and speeds things up significantly.
Yeah. So I mean, I can easily see how your skill sets, that each of the 3 of you and Eric's skill set came together in the initial stages. That I'm assuming, Delman, then you guys are pretty much responsible for the design and the basically the mechanical skeleton, the platform, and then I'm assuming that Vincent, you came in and helped find relationships and start looking at sales and supply chain. Is that how it worked? Just to go back to our theme of team building.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. I think Vincent, can speak for himself a little bit here, but I think Vincent's biggest asset is, I think, as we go out to as we want to expand into different places, partnership is really key. And Vincent really leading the charge in who we partner with and how we partner with them. And that's pretty important to get Ryvid's name out there and working with the right people. So.
Yeah, I think, you know, on that, the real key, and this is kind of just throughout the whole entire team in general, is just having that diversity, right? The diversity really leads us to other ways of thinking, other ways of approaching things, and you know, not too much of my background, but as far as that optics or that seeing it from that lens, we're able to really key in on certain opportunities that haven't really been explored. And we're fortunate in that the team is, you know, they come from all sorts of industries, right? Consumer goods, you know, Nike global brand, Jewel, GameStop, Visa. I mean, we can name it all, right? But a lot of people from the team are from the motorcyclist. So that's just the case in point, is because and we're able to really think about how we sell a product like this, you know, because what's traditionally done is they're sold in dealerships, right? And that model is rapidly changing with EV and direct to consumer sales. There's a new approach that the industry is taking, and we're able to really leverage the different experience that we've had as part of the team to really key in on those opportunities so that we can generate more sales, we can increase our margins, we can be more efficient in how we service and support our customers even, right? And really be connecting directly with our customers where, you know, maybe in the more traditional aspects, there is that, you know, that middle person or company who you lean on to represent your brand. We're able to really represent our brand from directly with our customers and get that feedback, right? Because this is a new emerging segment of EV, right? Because we all know the EV cars, and that's the electric vehicle, which really taken off, right? It's starting to really grow, and we have a lot of interest from a lot of different, markets, a lot of different use cases for our products, and it speaks again back to the product that we're able to really focus on what are the partnerships that we're looking at, what are the opportunities we're looking at, getting into government applications, and even like as a lot of developers are doing with the smart cities, right? We can integrate our products to these smart cities with the microgrid, with the last mile vehicles like a motorcycle or a scooter or a small car like that. So in general, I think it's exciting that we have just the opportunity to really expand upon what was traditionally done in the space.
Yeah, we took the same approach when building out the rest of the team as well, right? Because when I first met the guys here, I wanted to make sure that they had skills that I didn't have, skills that can. And when we looked at building out the team, we looked at it the same way, right? If we're trying to build a product for non-motorcyclists or new riders or getting people into the market, maybe hiring people with a lot of motorcycle experience isn't the right place to look for, right? If we're trying to change the dealership model or do retail, maybe looking for online retail, people with online retail experience is the way to look for, or people who do marketing online, right? And so building out the team with a diverse background was really important. And it started with us, and then because of that, it trickled down to the rest of the team, right? It's when we go out and look for people, we want to make sure they're good at what we're not good at, and also in the right industry that we're looking for. So that's definitely a big part of the team building.
Absolutely.
So like outside the four founders, I mean, who was the first hire that you guys had? Who was the fifth person, the first hire? Do you remember?
Is that
Eric, does Eric count as?
No, so yeah, no, it was Katarina. So she was actually, Katarina was the first hire on paper officially. We had people who worked essentially for equity and wasn't officially hired, but the first actual person that got a real paycheck was Katarina. We had some other people that worked with us, who's now our head of brand, that the guy that was from Nike Global, and he also worked with me at Icon Aircraft. He actually had his own company, was going by his way. We actually hired him to do the brand, and then he ended up, really wanting to work with us before we even became a real company. So he supported a lot of the effort initially, and then now he's on board full time and has been for a while.
And I think that's why it was a little bit of hesitation for us, like who's our first employee, because really, we contracted out a lot of work because we were a small team, we were running super lean. But as they saw our development, our growth of the company, they got excited. Which we're very fortunate, we hold it very dear to us, that they either left their company, they closed up their company, joined the team, they left companies that they worked for, or they were on different paths and they decided to jump on board at a very early stage. I mean, to have that kind of vision and excitement and commitment, and really taking a huge risk on their career, on their income and things like that, to join in and do what we're trying to do is very exciting. It goes back to giving us more confidence in, like, we're doing the right thing. People are getting excited about it, our team's excited about it, and in turn, we get just as energized, and we feed off of that energy for sure.
So what was more exciting, to come up with the product or actually hire your first employee? when you realize, hey, we're actually a real company, we're going to hire our first employee.
We never actually had time to think too much about it. I think we were
Right.
everything was it happened really fast, right? Because we knew that as a startup, time is always limited. And so with a pretty limited budget, I think we built 3 production prototypes initially just to get out to the world. The time was always limited, and we wanted to kind of be one of the first to get into the space. So we built everything. I think the excitement was there from everyone to just build. So by the time we hired our first employee, we were so far into it that it didn't really feel like a first employee anymore. It just felt like this is what's happening. And up to now, I mean, we're only a year and a half in since we really launched the production prototype. It's not that far. We started selling about 3 months ago, right? And so it took us about 8 months from production prototype to full-on production, which is kind of within the grand scheme of timelines on how long these things typically take. It's 2 to 3 years, 4 years really to get an established company to get a new product into the market. So it's been a whirlwind, and everyone involved, our team is about 40 right now. So it's still fairly a small team, but it's like a small but big team.
Yeah.
It's where there's enough people that we have traction and we're moving along, but it still feels very new. Everything still feels like there's so much more to be done, even though we're in the market and we're selling. The hard work, I think, is going to be starting now, right? I don't think everything we've done up to now, it felt like it's gone. It's done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I remember 2 years ago, around this time, we still finished up the design for the prototypes 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then July, when we put the 3 bikes together for a prototype 2 years ago.
I think having the first employee, if anything, it made it real in the sense that there's responsibility, right? So, somebody left their job. I mean, if you talk about official first employee officially, it was actually Vin. Vin was the first to leave his job. Like, he had a full-time job. Like me and Vince, Vince didn't have a job at the time, or he was kind of doing something on his own. He was trying to start something. I haven't had an actual like W-2 job since 2015. Since 2015, I've kind of been doing my own thing. So we were very familiar with not having income and grinding. Vin had a normal job. Like, he was just doing the 9 to 5, pretty secure.
Yeah.
And then we asked him, like, hey, this is becoming pretty real. We have money. Let's probably do this 100% of the time. And so he kind of took the first leap to leave his job. Big risk, of course, because we told him pretty right away that this may not work out, and you may have to find another job. So scary for Vin, but also scary for us. We're like, well, now
We're in.
Like, Vin gets a paycheck. We actually will have to pay him every month. No more free work. So yeah, in a way, and that just compounds as you get more employees, right? The more people that join the company, there's the more of the pressure. And so I would say, make sure you have the right team that's really dedicated and that puts in 200%, because that's the team you have. And if they're not excited about the mission, they're not going to put in their best, right? They're not going to put 200% in if they're not excited about the mission. Like, if they're just doing it for the money, I don't think we would have gotten to where we are now. I think a lot of people, most of the people in the company, puts in 200%. That's how we were able to get to production so quickly.
Yeah, that leads me to my next question.
If I can add
sorry.
quick,
Yeah.
It wasn't two of the options, but now that you brought it up and we're thinking through it, the real exciting part is reflecting back. We started in his garage. That was where the production prototype was done. Right, we did our first pitch in a hotel. It's in a hotel living area, right? So reflecting on that experience and going through those things are also exciting. So it's a little bit of the different milestones that you hit and kind of looking ahead, which is also exciting, but also reflecting back of like how far we've actually come. Is very unique into having a startup, right?
Yeah, it is. And I mean, one thing that comes out of this is how do you keep a lot of tech companies after they get to, you know, Series B, Series C, they're about to exit or something, go get listed or get acquired. A lot of people say, you know, the cultures change and you know they're not hiring the same people. So as a young company, knowing all these important characteristics that you need for newcomers to come in to have that passion and vision, share vision with you, how do you guys filter? How do you guys hire? Is it because of people you worked with, or is there a criteria that you talk to your operations, the HR people, and say, look, these are mandatory, you know, characteristics that we're looking for. I want you to set up the interview so you can get, you know, extract, you know, information that can illustrate to me, to the team, to the company that this person has that fit. How do you guys do that? How do you guys ensure that camaraderie?
Yeah, I think initially it was a lot easier. I think initially when we were small, we hire people we know in our network, and we go out and we find people that share the same value, like guys like that, Mike Schumann. All these guys, we share the same value, so it's a natural fit. As we grew beyond, let's say, 10 people, I think we started realizing really quickly that, you know, not everyone that comes in shares the same value. So being able to identify that, I think that's very difficult, right? That's very difficult to identify because you can't see that on the resume. You really have to work with the person to really understand where their passion lays. And you know, I found that to be able to find the right people, we need to know who we are first as a company, so we started sitting down, kind of defining our values and what we feel is important, right? So one of the thing for us is these are the values that we put down. So grit is something we put down. Challenges, the ability to overcome big challenges, because we knew we're a startup and there's always going to be challenges. It's always going to be hard. So you got to have some grit as you're coming in and working with the company. Curiosity was also a big deal for us because we want to be an innovative company, and so the people have to really keep asking, why am I doing this? Why is there a better way to do something? So those are some of the values that we have, you know, that I think we look for in hiring. And me personally, what I look out for is, we know we're a startup. So when we go out and look for people, the first thing I really ask them is, you know, are you familiar with working in a startup? Like, and what that truly means, not just from a financial standpoint, but from a how much effort you have to put in standpoint, right? And because it's very different to have worked for a startup and realize this is not just a job, this becomes your life. And if they're not into that from the get-go, it will be very difficult to get there. Right? I'm not saying that you can't get there, but it'll take a long time to actually get there. And so I definitely look for that. And the rest of the team has different metrics that they look for. But we put all that metric and then we go out and try to find the right person. So
yeah, for me personally, when I look for hiring, for at least for my teams, what Dom said, the very first thing is that's true. Is we are a startup. Are they comfortable working with the startup environment, knowing things that may not be fully there, and there will be a time required you wear multiple hats at the same time, right? And that's very critical. Ability to willing to step up and have to believe in that vision, right? So do they know that we, you know, what our vision is, and we can talk about that product, and they have to be excited. It's not going to be just a job for them. And it's up to us, as me as a hiring manager, to show that vision, show that we're trying to do, so that I can see if they align that. And the second thing is you know, resume, you can see all of that, right? Whether they match what you require, you can listen that. That's just strictly on paper, but the ability to just, you know, take accountability, be owner of what we were given them to do. That's evaluation is very critical for me personally. So
Yeah, and when it comes to, you know, hires and who you have on the team, it also, what it boils down to is like personality type, right? Who are they as a person? Because what we do as a company that you have to wear multiple hats. You know, you have to, like Dom said, you have to have that grit, you have that tenacity, but where do you want to take yourself in your life, in your career? How do you want to grow, right? How do you want to grow professionally? How do you want to grow personally? And what we found, at least with our team, is the ones that are, you know, really doing really well, they want to learn as much as they can. They're into a lot of different areas of the business, and it's also brings a lot of value for them because their learning curve has just grown exponentially. Whereas if they were in a different setting, maybe it's a longer learning curve for them because it's one job, one function. But it goes to, you know, finding they see an opportunity, you know, not just from a salary standpoint or equity or things like that, but like really diving in, getting real deep in many different areas of the business to really grow themselves. And that, you know, that's one of our goals as a company, is like those people who do come on board, like how do we continuously grow, help them grow, because as they grow, the company also grows with it, right? And having that synergy between the two is where we can really start accelerating ourselves as a company and just what we stand for, right?
And
Yeah.
it's really important to also try to foster that, right? Because it's really easy to shut people down when they want to do something more for the company. I think it's hard to step away and say, okay, you know, this person was hired for this specific purpose, but what are they? Where do they really shine? And try to play that up as much as you can, because I think, you know, you'd be surprised because some people come in for one job, they end up being very good for something else, right? And the ability for us to actually see that and recognize it and then move them is very critical, because I think it will always cost more to get rid of somebody than just to hire the right person, find the right place for them to grow in, right? Because I mean, I had that opportunity when I was younger, and going through a startup from 6 to 1,000 people, kind of got to see the possibility of, like what Vincent is saying, the insane learning curve acceleration, right? Got to learn more in a few years than a lot of people do in their entire careers, just because you were in the right environment. And we want to provide that same environment for anyone that we bring in. But it takes the right personality type to want to do that. So that's what we definitely look for.
So I mean, then the question becomes management, right? What kind of structure you put in place to make sure that you optimize identifying and allocating the right talent to the right role, right? So then do you guys have, I mean, is it too early for you guys, or do you guys have an HR process that you go through? I mean, for interviews, do you have, like, you know, entry-level jobs, key roles, and then if key roles, you know, all four of the founders have to talk? Or is there like informal or formal mechanisms that you put in place to systemize this process of both identifying hires and also reallocating resources and make sure that they are doing what they're optimal in terms of their talent?
Yeah, we actually do have a process, and it's constantly morphing, right? I think our process initially started with really you're talking to everyone on the team, right? It goes from the lowest to all the way to the top. You talk to everybody, and we've been able to streamline. We do have an HR function. It's a small one, like all of our functions. Every department is fairly small, but our HR function identifies from the recruiting stage on who we reach out to, all the way to the interview stage and who they need to be talking to. And then, you know, I try to make it a point to talk to everyone that comes into the company. Doesn't matter what the role is, to spend at least an hour with them to talk to them before they come into the company. That's a personal goal. I just like to know everyone that gets into the company and what they're all about. But I think Vin was actually involved with a lot of the process on how we interview and what to look for and all that stuff.
Yeah, so we have our lead of the HR, Cindy, who I've been talking to a lot for the last 7-8 months. How we have a streamlined the interview process, what at what level would trigger a cross-functional interview, and usually at the director level of we have a cross-functional interview. Just because you hire somebody from sales there's a cross-functional, interaction between different departments, so you want them to interview us as well. And we are small enough to be able to do that, right? If you talk about 1,000, 2,000 people, then that process, like Don said, would have to evolve and change. But for now, that what is the triggers. And also we have a form that we have to fill in and how we reviewed, and everything should try to be as systematic as possible. So take a, everything is by score, and the text of, there is a personality trace that I work with HR to try to get a copy of their personality that people might display, that is the red line, things like that. Yeah.
Well, Vince, do you have anything to say, or?
No, I think they summed it up pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then this is kind of more of a tough question. I don't know if it's happened to you already or not, because you're a relatively new company, young company. But has there been an HR kind of like a fit that initially seemed good, but then it didn't work out?
Yeah, actually, quite. Yeah, I mean, there's been a few, and I actually was just going to bring that up. I think it's really important for us to identify that quickly and move quickly. I think that the saying, I think, is to hire, take a long time to hire, but to fire very quickly, right? And I think identifying that is really important for two things. One is to really not waste anyone's time, right? I think if they're not a good fit and they don't feel like they're a good fit, it's best to let them move on to what they really want to do. And two, for the company culture, right? If you hire somebody and they are not a good fit, what typically happens is the rest of the company starts to feel it, right? The leadership team, if they feel like they're lifting more than the other person, I think they get discouraged, right? So I think it's really important for the whole team to understand and get to know who's coming in and that they work well together. Fortunately for us, I think a lot of times it's not a good fit, but I think it's a mutual understanding that it's not a good fit. But I think as we grow, that will definitely get a lot tougher, and the ability to identify it, I think, is really important, and to just make a decision, right? It's not about being friends. It's not about your relationship outside of work. It's really, is this the right fit for the company? And as we grow as a company, that's actually one of my biggest, and I think it's all of our biggest worry, is that there's people who work well together, but are they right for the company? And that's really hard to identify sometimes because of relationships, and maybe they're really awesome to work with, but do they fill the right role in the company to move the company forward? Ultimately, that's the decision that we really have to make, and make very quickly as a startup. We don't have unlimited funds, right? And so we don't make those decisions wisely. It could be very costly to the company and to the team. I mean, good people tend to leave when they don't feel like they're working with the same type of level. So definitely important for us to pay attention to that.
And it's really cultural fit, right? We'll keep on kind of talking about culture, because that's one thing that for a company where we establish, we have the solid foundation, and as we grow, we try to like refine it and continue to refine it and build a team around that culture, so that everyone's kind of participating in how we grow this company, and as we look to hire people, how do they integrate with the company? But sometimes if there's an employee that doesn't meet that criteria, then that really can be just devastating for the organization, right? And if you don't act quick enough, or if you don't do your full analysis and then kind of really look at it really strategically, then that's going to cause some damage that will take even longer to repair, right? You got to really rebuild that culture, because people go through different experiences, right? And it would just be a lot more effort and work to really reestablish you know, for the individuals in the organization who've gone through something that, you know, may be tough for them, right? And we've had to make some of those hard decisions because of that. You know, skills are skills, and that's why it goes back to how we designed with the manufacturing in mind, is like a lot of these things are trainable skills, but the cultural part and how you fit it within the organization is really something that is extremely important, especially how we want to establish ourselves as an innovative company, not only through the product, but just how we operate as a company in general.
Yeah, so if I can take away, we have about 10 minutes left, but if I can, my takeaways from this conversation is like, first, you know, it's sometimes it's just a matter of timeliness and the circumstances in terms of how you find your initial founding team. But when you grow it, something that Dom just said to me that I think is not really paid attention to too much. Because a lot of times these days companies emphasize, oh, you know, your coworkers are your family, but I think the word family is overused. You know, it's more about fit, you know, in terms of skill, and also, you know, are they good enough? I mean, they don't have to be the best buddy to you, but can they work together? But then it's more skill set, especially early on, about, you know, the limited funding and limited time. It's not even about funding, it's just the time, right? You know, you don't want to lose time because you're competing against the marketplace. And then the last thing is something that Vince talked about, culture. How do you, you know, instill that culture and create systems in place to make sure that that culture thrives? And those are the three things that I got from you guys talking to you today. And I think it's very helpful for people when they come in to look at their circumstances. I mean, are these friends, but are these friends also do they give skill sets that will enable the team to come up with a product and take that product to the marketplace? Did you guys want to add anything else to team building that you want to share in your experience to aspiring entrepreneurs?
Maybe not. I just kind of want to touch a little bit on how we also came about, because this was during COVID, but we really decided to go this route during the middle of COVID. Everything was flipped upside down. You know, my wife had just had a baby and Dom had just had a kid, and like, where is this world going, right? But we really had to see the silver lining beyond what was going on in front of us and seize the opportunity, because that's what it took, right? There are a lot of, and I'm not saying, not kind of little bit of generalizing, but a lot of people are frozen and stuck like in what was in front of them with COVID, right? But really finding those opportunities that, you know, sometimes you get those cloudy days, but you know that there's an opportunity somewhere there, and really honing in on that. And at some point you just gotta commit. If you're feeling it, you know, deep inside you gotta commit and go through it, because that's also another opportunity to learn, right? And experience it, because if you don't go through that, then you're not gonna, the likelihood of you succeeding in what you want to do is going to be limited, and you don't want to limit yourself in that way.
Yeah, and then a takeaway too that I've noticed is, as you're building out a team, you know, everything trickles down from a good lead, right? And as you go out and you hire your leadership team, make sure that they are aligned with you as founders, and then really, because how they are will be how their team is. Like, they will drive the culture of their own team, right? So hiring good leaders are really important, because if you hire the wrong ones, I think it can turn upside down really fast. If you hire the right ones, it makes your job so much easier. And we, you know, we've also experienced that, right? We've hired people that might have not been the right leads, and it has gone the other way. And then we've hired people that are really experienced, and they really drive the culture of making sure everyone is really high performing, and it makes the job just a lot easier. It kind of, you know, that everyone they bring on is going to have to be high performers. So that's just the culture of their organization. The other thing is, I think keeping the organization fairly flat initially is really important. I think it's really easy to just start having everyone report to everyone, then report to everyone. And then you never get to know who your real team is, right? So being able to talk to everyone on the team and being very accessible, I think is really important. Just as you go out to customers, having the ability to access the leadership of the company as a customer is really important. And I think it's the same with the team, right? Being able to just talk to everyone and really communicate easily is important. Top heavy organizations, especially on a startup, I think it's really not the way we want to be.
Yes, for team building, I think we expect our team member, like we don't say grit and tenacity and all that. So we have to lead by example, right? So and our leaders too. So if we show them that our vision, that we really passionate and work toward that, that's what we inspire our team members who also follow through with us and go do the hard work and get the product built, the design correctly, and deliver to a great customer experience to our customers. All that is true. We have to lead as leaders, as founders, and our executive team member also have to lead by example too. So I think right now, right, we always have been that, but our executive team also.
Yeah. Well, I like to end the interview with a kind of a fun part of the whole session, is to talk about Vietnamese weddings. All of us are married men, right? So we've probably all gotten a traditional Vietnamese wedding. So what is the two common elements of a Vietnamese wedding? Almost every wedding that I've gone to, unless maybe they're younger, Gen Z or something in their 20s and 30s, but anybody that have a wedding party that has people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, there's two things I see, at least in the US. I don't know about Vietnam, but in the US, there's two things that always happen at a Vietnamese wedding. What are they?
Hennessy and lots of money.
No, other than that.
That's well, I was gonna make a joke, but it's kind of real. But like, just being able to be flexible. So as you go around EVTOL, right? So you're always kind of bowing. That's kind of what's very unique and traditional, just going around all the different tables. My wife, she's Filipino, and for her, she was like, tell me to do what I need to do. I'll just go around, collect the money, and I'll bow to all the elders. But that's a fun part of it. But maybe culturally, it's just I'm a big fan of the traditional aoyais and things like that, and I love that element to it. It's just very unique to us. And whenever I go to a Vietnamese wedding, that's what really stands out from any other weddings I go to, for sure.
Yeah, I got lucky. I just had a destination wedding, and only my friend showed up. So we did it on the beach, and we didn't have to deal with any. Yeah, it was a fun wedding. But yeah.
Well, I mean, almost all the weddings I've gone to, and then my wedding in particular, there were two things for entertainment that was a must. It wasn't. I didn't have a choice. One was karaoke.
Yeah,
you had to have a karaoke machine, music at a Vietnamese wedding. It seems like there's always someone want to sing. And the other thing that most weddings I've gone to, you always have to have ballroom dance music.
Yeah,
like the whole French, the cha-cha-cha, the ballroom, all that stuff. It seems like all Vietnamese weddings, at least at my age group, it seems like it always happens that way. So my question to you guys, as we end this session, is: would you rather dance on the ballroom, or would you rather sing?
Wait, talking about like ballroom dancing or like?
Ballroom.
Oh man, I'm not that smooth, and I can't sing either, so I don't know. Depends how much Hennessy I have. I might do them both.
Vince does both. I was at his wedding. He did both.
He's a fun guy, man. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes the shirt comes off, but that's actually most times.
I was forced to dance, and I would probably pick singing if
I would do singing.
Okay. All right. I'd probably go hide. I didn't do either.
You wouldn't do either. That's the right answer. Hey, you said if you had to.
Yeah, that's right. If I had to, I'd probably do dancing.
Yeah.
But not about ballroom, maybe more modern dancing than ballroom dancing.
Oh man. Oh, that was great.
was really fun having you guys on the spotlight. I really enjoyed hearing you guys talk and all the wise words and experiences that you shared. I think it'll be very helpful for people listening in, putting together a team. And now more and more people are looking to form startups. And the first step is to find the right partner, to find the right co-founder. So thank you for sharing your time and your experiences. And I look forward to talking to you guys and working offline with you guys.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you
you
for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right, take care, guys.
Appreciate you.
Take care.
All right, bye.